At the beginning of Advent here at Meardon, there was a community switching on of the Christmas lights. The community had got together and people began to decorate the outside of their houses and their driveways. And then when it had got proper dark and the sun had gone down, at a certain point everybody turned their lights on and people came out to see the light shining out into the darkness. I don't know if you're like me, but when I begin to wander around and drive around and start seeing the Christmas lights, it begins to make me feel a little bit excited about the Christmas that's coming. Some of the lights we see are a little bit fancy and some are a little bit tacky, but that doesn't really matter because there's something really special. There's something really significant about shining light into the dark places. It speaks about excitement, anticipation, and hope. And it kind of gets you right here. This anticipation, this sense of longing, this sense of hope was also present at the very first Christmas. Because Mary and Joseph and the shepherds and actually the people of Israel were holding on to this deep hope, this ancient dream that somebody would be born who would actually bring light into the darkness. And we can read about that in the book of Isaiah. So let's turn to that now.
That people who walk in darkness will see a great light. For those who live in a land of deep darkness, a light will shine. For a child is born to us, a son is given to us.
The government will rest on his shoulders.
And he will be called
Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father,
Prince of Peace.
So that prophet Isaiah was writing about this hope and this promise that a child would be born. And that child was going to come and bring light to all those who walked in places of darkness. And then he goes on to use 4 names to describe this child. Names of who the child was going to be and what the child was going to do. And this was the lingering hope of Mary, Joseph, and the shepherds. And those 4 beautiful names: Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, and Prince of Peace. And that promise, that prophecy was fulfilled in the birth of Jesus. We read in the book of John, who is describing Jesus as the light that shines in the darkness, and the darkness cannot extinguish it. And we sing about this promise in the carol, O Little Town of Bethlehem. We sing these words: the hopes and fears of all the years are met in thee tonight. Jesus, the light that shines in the darkness. So we love to sing those carols, and it's great to read some of these ancient readings. But what does it really mean for us today, this Christmas 2020, that's been a really strange last 12 months? What does it mean? Well, I think the hope and the promise of the person of Jesus Christ is still as relevant today as it ever was. You see, that promise and that possibility that this man Jesus can bring light into those areas of darkness in our lives is still relevant and still happens today. When people pause and take a moment to find out who Jesus was and is and put their hope in him, things change. Those 4 names are still relevant today. Wonderful Counselor. You need a counsellor when your troubles seem too much to bear, where there's confusion and uncertainty about what to do next. Sometimes we need a counsellor to guide us into life and light. Perhaps you need that today. Mighty God. For those who are vulnerable, for those who are weak or sick, sometimes we need power to come in. We need somebody to step inside and with our vulnerability and our weakness and bring strength. Perhaps you need strength today. Everlasting Father. Relationships come and go, but this relationship, as described, is a relationship that lasts forever. And this speaks to those who are isolated, to those who are lonely, to those who are struggling with their relationships. There's a relationship we can turn to that's everlasting, that brings light and life. And lastly, Prince of Peace. For those who might find themselves in a place of anxiety or fear or worry, where our thoughts and patterns of thinking get out of control, Jesus is described as a Prince of Peace that comes into the place of anxiety and brings stillness. The hopes and fears of all the years are met in thee tonight. Perhaps today, in this moment, there are parts of your life where you describe as darkness, where you're looking for a little bit of light to come in. It might be the need of a wonderful counsellor. It might be someone that needs power and a mighty God to step in. It might be a relationship, the need for an everlasting Father. Or it might be you're gripped with anxiety and need to invite the Prince of Peace to bring stillness. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness can never put it out.